Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Hi, everyone. This is our 7th show. Last week we did show number 6. This is our 7th show. You might want to keep a paper and pencil handy during our shows. Sometimes I bring some things up that people need to jot down. Not a lot, but when I bring it up, it's good if you have a pencil and paper. I'd like to tell you about a miracle that just happened last night. I was inspired by God to turn the television on as I was preparing supper. And I don't normally do that, but I was led to do that last night. And as soon as I turned the television on, there was a minister preaching, and as soon as the television went on, I mean, not 2 minutes later, but exactly perfectly to the second, I turn it on, and he starts saying, we have stopped noticing miracles. We've stopped seeing them as people. We used to see them in the past, and it gave me chills because both of my books, on the covers of my books, that's what I was inspired to put on both books. Especially book number 1 on the back side, it explains how many generations ago, in ancient times, there were no televisions, radios, etc. People would talk about the miracles they were seeing every day. And he stressed a point. He said an amazing thing. He said, even though scientists can explain something, or a doctor can perform surgery and heal somebody, even though a scientist or a doctor does their thing, it doesn't mean that the thing they're talking about or doing is not a miracle. So you can have a miraculous surgery because the doctor's doing it, but all miracles come from God. Again, the definition of a miracle is it's an action we know came from God, or it's a result we know that came from God, or it's an inspiration or an idea. And if you remember the French word for the French man, RI, A-R-I, that'll help you remember. Action, result, inspiration, or idea. Those things are miracles, and that's how we see miracles. And I'd like to just add some things I've used when I was evangelizing and telling people. If you look at a tomato, just a tomato, and think about it, where it came from and how it came to be a tomato. Somebody planted a seed, a plant grew, the plant had maybe, 10 tomatoes a day maybe. But that's how a tomato came into being. I mean, a tomato is a miracle. How did that tomato come to be? It came from one seed that got planted and eventually grew a plant, and then it grew a tomato. Look at rain. Water evaporates all day long. The lakes and the oceans, the sun evaporates the water. The evaporation goes up into the clouds, and then when it rains, the rain comes back from the sky that was evaporated. So that's certainly a miracle, even though science can explain it, etc. Okay. So I'm getting into miracle stories. I thought I would tell you as a preface. Last night, just by doing what God told me, turn the television on, I got this amazing miracle. Somebody's preaching exactly what my first book said on the back cover. Okay, now we left off with our last show talking about the fact that I had gone to Mystic Seaport and also then after that Rhode Island on the next day, and I explained some amazing miracles because I met people on the first day who I wind up meeting someone they talked to that night on the second day. So I met some people at Mystic, and we talked about God, and I gave them some cards. Those people went home. They talked to their relatives, and lo and behold, because I was inspired to go to Rhode Island the next day, I wound up bumping into people who heard about the prior day discussion from their relatives, and they bumped into me in Rhode Island. And I told you about a man. I was going through the crowd on Rhode Island on the second day, passing out cards, and a man ran after me and called my name and wound up spending about 40 minutes with him and his wife talking about how I met their daughter on the prior day, and her daughter experienced some miracles by talking to God after I told her about the book and explained how you can talk to God, and she solved some of her problems, and the parents were so delighted that I had bumped into them, and I was delighted that now I went to Rhode Island on the second day and I bumped into her parents who received a great gift. She was trying to solve some problems, and she did resolve them after we spoke. So you could jot down, if you have a pencil and paper, that if you want to listen to past episodes or future episodes, you just have to Google a very simple address. You Google it and you can listen to all of our episodes. There's a podcast there. And the address to Google is a big W for worldwide, so it's a big W, means worldwide. The next word is cat, like cat or dog, so it starts out wcatradio.com/miracles/ Once again, very simple, wcatradio.com/miracles/. All right, so now there was another miracle in Rhode Island beside the one we ended with in the last episode. There were people there like ants on this summer vacation day, and I was there to pass out cards to people. Passed out about 500 cards on that day. I was there for about 5 hours. And I came upon a very quiet block. There's a place in Rhode Island where there's a lot of stores and shopping and a lot of events, sightseeing events, etc. And the people are running around like ants, going in and out of stores and in and out of events. But there's a block off in the corner, it's not frequented by many people. You might call it like almost a ghost town block. And I was going by there. I got inspired by God to go down there and pass out some cards down there. Well, I thought, gee, Lord, there's thousands of people over here in this busy section. Probably thousands. I can walk 5 paces and pass out 5 cards. But inspired again, no, trust me, go down there. So I went down this ghost town sort of area. And lo and behold, I meet a young man about 22 years old, sitting at a table with brochures. He's advertising some new product that just came out. And so I'm passing out cards like I normally do. So I handed him a card, and he looked at it and he said, "Hey, I know you." He said, "You don't know me because you didn't notice me yesterday." So here I am. Once again, I'm in Rhode Island. This is the second person I'm talking to who says they saw me the prior day in Mystic Seaport, Connecticut, and I'm up in Rhode Island. He said, "Yeah, you were leaving, and my mom pulled in with her car, and you said to her, 'This looks like a coincidence miracle,' and you gave her one of your cards, and I heard you talking for a while. You didn't see me. I was sitting in the back seat, and you were telling her how this looked like the coincidence miracle because you were just leaving after being there for a while, and she just arrived, and Well, I want to tell you, she was extremely impressed. She did order your book right after you left, and we talked on the way home about how amazing it was that you and she spoke, and you told her some of those things about how you can have discussions with God, and she's resolving some of her issues. And he said it's pretty amazing. He said that I'm bumping into you today because we live here in Rhode Island. We only came down to Mystic as a second thought to come down there yesterday. And so pretty amazing that here you are today. And he says, even beside that, I just started this job today, so it's pretty amazing that we're meeting because I just set up this table like about a half an hour ago, and here you are. And so I thought I would tell you that my mom was really impressed with everything you said, etc. So that was heartwarming for me and nice feedback from God. And I tell you this story because I just told you 2 coincidence miracles. I met a man and his wife before this man, and they were very delighted about me meeting their daughter the prior day. And now here's this young man telling me the same thing. So I'm telling you that because God had inspired me to go to Rhode Island this day, and he knew those people would be there. This young man, this was his first day on the job, so it was very planned, really, that he would be there as I arrived. I was told to go down this ghost town area of the section of Rhode Island. So all this was coincidental, but prompted by God. It was like a setup. The man and his wife I saw earlier, they happened to be coming out of a store as I walked by, pretty providential. So I just want to stress for you how God does these things. So I think hopefully I've convinced you that if you do what God inspires you to do, you wind up with coincidence miracles like this on a regular basis. Well, I had spent about 5 hours there in Rhode Island passing out cards throughout this mob of vacationing people, and it's a 2-hour drive up and back, so it was getting late and starting to get dark, and I thought I'd better leave, so I left to try to beat some traffic, and on the way back, I started to feel badly that I left early. I got a sense that, I could have stayed there a little bit longer, and I was helping people the last 2 days in Mystic, Connecticut, and now here in Rhode Island, just passing out the cars, having these great discussions about God and miracles in people's lives. So I felt badly like I, could have done more for God by staying there and convince more people about the ability to talk to God. And that's the devil's trick. The Bible's replete. If you read Mark 4:15, Mark chapter 4, verse 15, you'll see that history is filled with the devil always making us feel badly about things needlessly. So I talked to God on the way home, and he kept inspiring me, no, you did a lot, and it was time to leave, and don't worry about it. I did want you to leave. So I started to believe that I was just being tempted by the devil. And I got to about 3 miles away from home, and I was going by an empty church. I thought, let me stop in the empty church and thank God for the last 2 wonderful days and all the miracles I've been experiencing by bumping into people and helping them with their lives. They had problems they were bringing up. And you'll know that by the last week's show as well as this week. So I was there for about 10 minutes, and after a while, I was inspired again by God. Don't worry, it was time for you to leave. And I got inspired, okay, now it's time to go. He had some other things he wanted me to do that night. And so I left, and I got to the first stop sign, and at the first stop sign, I noticed I'm in back of a pickup truck, and its license plate was from Rhode Island, and the license number was 777. License plate 777 from Rhode Island. So I followed them 3 driveways away from my home. They went into a driveway, and I went in and I told them the story. And they said, yeah, we just came over just now, which means that they were driving 10 minutes behind me because I stopped at the church for 10 minutes. And because of that, when I came out, I met them at the stop sign. That means they were behind me for 10 minutes. And that's another coincidence miracle of God showing me that he had me leave the church at the right time to see that truck that was coming from Rhode Island, from the place I just left, and it was right in back of me. God bless you all. Talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.